established. But I want you to know, the reason I tell you this is that this is an exceptional church. It is an exceptional church. It's very, very different. From the first Sunday here, I just asked people, like I said before, pray for one. This is what we're going to do. Everything we do is going to come back to these 3 words: pray for one.
Pray for one more person each day to share the love of Jesus with.
We're praying for one. The ones are praying for another. I have people on our team who had prayed for someone's praying for them, and they're praying for someone else. 3 people deep on praying for one.
And I told them, I said, guys, if you pray for one and you ask God to give you somebody every day to share your love with, this church will double in 2 years. Now, that seems like a crazy thing to say, right? I mean, like, just to think, okay, all this change is happening and all this is taking place, but the people, they understood, and they started praying for one.
Just going from this church in the last year or 2 years, going from a size of maybe 1,200 people to 3,000 people, for me managing a team that's went from 30 people to 125 people, and building up team leads. We have 10 or 12 team leads over all those roles and responsibilities, and getting to work and to build those leadership moments with them.
It's a prayer that when you go before God, we pray all kinds of things, right? We may pray for health or financial success, or God, please don't let me get this ticket, please don't let me get this ticket. We pray for all kinds of things. But when the predominant prayer in your life becomes, God, what I really want more than anything else is somebody to share your love with, man, you know God's going to answer that prayer, and you start to pray real boldly.
I love connecting people to Jesus. Seeing from their first reaction to getting on the team, to connecting with our amazing team leads, to then putting the pieces together that it's not about us at all, it's about Jesus.
I chose this job because I love students. I love the fact that they're at an age where they're so impressionable and they just want to be loved. Loneliness is the biggest problem in the world, in my mind, and that loneliness can only be filled by the love of Jesus. And so I love that I get to share the love of Jesus with people, as well as lead teams and adults in helping reach students. Because one of my favorite things is to see the face of a student when they actually get it. When they realize, oh wait, someone really does love me. And that's just an awesome thing for me.
We actually have a thing here at MCC where we turn ordinary people into extraordinary followers of Christ. How we do that is we connect people to God, we connect people to people, we connect people to mission. So we take them on this cycle or this journey where they get to see all these aspects of Jesus, where they finally get it, where they have that click moment where they say, oh, wow. and it kind of worldview switches from about them to about what Jesus has to do in their life.
3 indicative marks of a follower of Christ. That's what Christian means. It means Christ follower, somebody who does what Jesus does. And when Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment? He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. So basically Jesus said, okay, number one, most important thing that all of the Bible hangs on is this: love God with everything you've got. And so the first place we start in sharing with people about, well, what does being a member of this church look like? We're going to encourage you to connect to God. And so this is kind of like an attractional element. We focus on the Sunday morning worship experience, and maybe Saturdays or Thursdays or whatever's next. Come to a worship service, and the whole focal point of that time is to help people connect with God. To love the Lord their God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. So when we come together for worship, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we're going to meet with God. We're going to be in His presence. And if you recognize the presence of God, then the appropriate response is this thing called worship. Well, what is worship? Right? Worship isn't singing songs that can help you in worship, but worship is exalting God. It means to say, God, and this is kind of cool, this is like a greater than sign. That means, God, you are greater than me. I recognize that you're here and you're greater than me. I don't know everything about you, I just know that you're greater than me. And so when we come together, we want to help people experience the presence of God.
So turn my heart inside out. My life is yours, you have it all. So take my past, today I live for you. Make all things new, make all things new.
Not see a show, not just hear some words or a song or two, but to actually engage and actively experience the very presence of God and then respond appropriately in worship.
The church has impacted me in a lot of ways. I feel like every day something new happens, something different happens, and Probably one of the biggest ways is just spiritually being led by a great staff, by a great senior pastor, as well as working with students. You get surprised. Every interaction you have with a student is a surprise, I feel like. But it's a great surprise because seeing lives changed, seeing students really pray for one and share the love of Jesus, their love for Jesus with their friends, and seeing their friends come to church and to elevate student ministry on a Wednesday night is just great. And that just, each story means something to God, and each story means something to me, and so it's a great thing to be a part of that.
So that's the first thing we want to do, is we want to connect people to God. But it doesn't stop there. The second thing, when Jesus was asked what is the greatest commandment, he said, okay, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. He said the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself.
Originally from London, England, and so through going to college in Tennessee, I then worked at a church down in Dallas, Texas, and that's where Pastor Bo and Pastor Eric are originally from. And so when I graduated, they asked me to come up here and be the student pastor. So during Elevate, we have middle school and high school. We split middle school and high school up because no senior in high school wants to hang out with a 6th grader. And so what we do is we have 2 worship services, for one for middle school, one for high school, as well as small group. And so in a worship service, it consists of there's a welcome, an introduction. There's usually an Elevate spotlight moment, where last week we had a student impact moment where a middle school girl is starting a Bible study in her middle school, which is awesome. Then we have stage games, funny videos, we have worship, a message, and then we have small groups for the students, which is done by grade and gender, and we have 2 adults in each small group.
So what's the next thing? We also want to help people connect with people. And so love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, but love your neighbor as yourself. And so this is a crucial element in becoming a follower of Jesus, is that you've got to connect with other people. So the way that we do that here at Manchester Christian Church is all the programming elements you see, whether it be men's ministry, women's ministry, student ministry, children's ministry, small groups, service opportunities, teams that you can work on and be a part of, all that is helping people get connected to people.
At times it can be amazing, and there are times where you have to prioritize of, okay, it's coming down to Monday night, what is not working and what needs to happen. But it's really nice to plan with our leads to say, okay, in the next 3 months, we're going to tackle this big issue, or we're going to start implementing this new technology.
Because we do need people. Some people say, well, all I need is God. Not true. Right? That is not true. If you go back to the book of Genesis, and it says how God made everything. He makes the heavens and the earth, He makes the fish and the sea, He makes all the animals, He makes man, He says it's good, He makes man, He says it's very good, and then He said one thing wasn't good. He said it's not good for man to be alone. This is no good. And then God's answer for this was He made Eve. And He put the man and the woman together, and then He gave them the very first commandment. The first command was be fruitful and multiply. Basically say go make more people. And so God's answer to loneliness was family. But the very first family was broken. It was messed up. I mean, I'm assuming everybody here comes from a broken family. Somewhere in your family, it is broken. I couldn't imagine it not being. It has to be. All of us are from some form of a broken family. The very first family was broken. I'm not saying we're going to fix all those problems, right? But what we can do as a church is we can make sure people don't go through them alone. Does that make sense? And so that's one of the reasons why we always say, okay, yes, there's a lot of energy and effort put here, but we don't just stay here. We want to help people move and connect with other people. Now, there's one more mark of a follower of Jesus, and that is called the Great Commission. And in the Great Commission, Jesus said after His resurrection, before He ascended into heaven, He said, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. This is called the Great Commission. This is where Jesus is saying, okay, now I want you to connect to my mission. Connect to the mission of Jesus, which is to seek and save the lost.
Getting adults into mentoring and leading students can be challenging, but once they get there, the adults love it so much. Students really impact them, and they love being a part of it. The the greatest thing about it, the easiest thing, would probably be just the enjoyment of students coming. Is probably the best thing for me.
And so now we have the relational element of connecting to God, our Creator. This is the meaning of life, is to have a relationship with God. We have a connection with a new family, the church, and we have a connection with other people, and we're helping just destroy loneliness in our world and get rid of that. But then we also connect to the mission of Jesus. And the mission of Jesus is to seek and save the lost. So this happens through praying for one, inviting people to church, participating in our generosity projects, serving, going on mission trips. Like Christian said, we have 8 right now in Rwanda, Africa. But it doesn't stop there, because what happens is when these 3 things occur, you end up inviting other people to do the same thing. And all of it is based on those 3 words. Pray for one. Now, what I love about this is the simplicity. All right? Now, sometimes church gets complicated. If you have any church experience, you've probably had a complicated experience, right? And it's because religion complicates. Religion just makes it hard and puts rules and regulations and hoops and all kinds of things to memorize and everything else. We're boiling it all down to 3 words. We're going to reach people. And the way we're going to reach people is people reaching people, which is really the deepest you could ever go. Because watch what happens. If you pray for one, these 3 things will happen. And when these 3 things happen, you fulfill the Great Commandment, love the Lord your God, you love your neighbor as yourself, and the Great Commission, you go and make disciples of all nations. You're going to love God in a way you have never loved Him before. I can tell you from personal experience. I prayed for all sorts of things, but when I started praying for one, and I started saying, God, what I really want more than anything else is somebody to share your love with. All of a sudden, I loved Him like I'd never loved Him before. My heart began to beat in rhythm with His heartbeat. Part of this church is to see more people in the kingdom of heaven. And we're not just praying for it, and we're not just actively pursuing it, we're really throwing our lives and our energy behind that. And we're looking for people and inviting people to come in and help us. His heart beats for the one. There's much rejoicing over one sinner who repents amongst the angels in heaven. This is what God's heart beats for. And when we start to pray and we seek God at this level, all of a sudden our hearts get in rhythm with His, and we love Him like we never loved Him before. Because it's not about me anymore. It's not about give me this, give me this, give me this. It's about, God, give me one person to share your love with. Almost every person in our church has at least one pray for one story. Of course, then when you get one, you can't stop. And it's like the lady, she's in her 70s. She helped start the Do You Know Him ministry that feeds people in the park, but more importantly, shares the love of Jesus with them in a very practical and tangible way every single weekend. She came up to me early in that process as that ministry started, and she said, okay, Bo, I prayed for one and the Lord gave me 22. She said, what do I do now? And I said, what do you want to do? She said, I want to pray for another one. I don't blame you. She just keeps praying for one, and the Lord keeps answering her.
In the future, what we hope to accomplish, honestly, is just more people coming into the kingdom of heaven. We have a strategy called Pray for One, and that's pretty much the gospel message in a nutshell. It's pray for one more person each day to share the love of Jesus with. And so what we do is we ask students to find someone they can pray for each day, to love on them, to show them Jesus, to invite them to church, to tell them about Jesus, and just to be a friend. We have experienced a lot of growth through that, but the best thing is just to hear the stories that have come out of that, about how there'll be 2 people sitting at church or on a Wednesday night at Elevate, and one of them has been coming forever. The other one just started a couple of months ago, just got baptized, and that was her Pray for One.
If we have 2,800 people today, why wouldn't it be 5,600 in 2 years? Right? And then 11,200. Why not? And so this is what we're doing, and this is what being a follower of Christ is.
And with that, we would love for the church to grow, to have an impact on this city. We do a lot of outreach events, which really touch lives, and we just want to share the love of Jesus with everybody, as well as teaching people about who He is.
Come empty me till I am clean. Remove
share Jesus.
Come in power, I need you now.